G'day and welcome back to the Life Outside podcast. Each episode we share stories from outside to hopefully inspire you to get outside as well. My name is Cam Bostock and on today's episode I chat to Brooke McIntosh. Brooke is a mental health advocate and long distance runner. She's about to embark on a record-breaking 14,000 kilometre run around Australia, intending to cover 80 kilometres every single day. Brooke is raising awareness and funds for mental health charity, the Blue Tree Project, and will be sharing all the ups and downs of her journey online. We hope you enjoy. Brooke, how are you, mate?
Oh, still on top of the world now. The sun's out. I'm sitting,
Yes.
chatting. Yeah.
It's very fitting that you're recording outside for the Life Outside podcast. I'm actually stuck in my bedroom right now, which is a bit silly, but lovely sun beating down on your face. You're doing well. Thanks for making some time.
Yeah, I'm excited to have a chat, to have a yarn about the life outside, especially going on the road for 6 months, upcoming very
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, you're about to spend a lot of time, a lot of time outside over a long period of time. Essentially, when I'm through hiking, I'm spending most of every day outside, and you're running around Australia, so you're going to be doing a very similar thing. Let's give the audience some context. What are you about to do? Because you're only 7 or 10 days away from this big mission.
Yeah, I'm 10 days. When I seen the countdown on Instagram today, it was like 10 days. I'm like, oh, it's creeped up so fast. I am about to run 80 kilometers a day for 6 months straight, all the way around Australia. And that's total 14,000 kilometers. Yeah. Very
40,000.
excited.
Insane. So I just walked the Pacific Crest Trail last year. That's the longest hike I've ever done. That was about 4,800 kilometers. You're essentially doing triple that distance around a country. It's kind of mind blowing even to me, and obviously super exciting. And I'm pumped to chat a bit about that today. But I want to go back first before you were this crazy ultra endurance athlete runner raising money for charity and just doing these insane missions. Where did it start for you? Were you an outdoorsy active person when you were young?
Yeah, I have always been an active person. Like it started in my younger years, but I would always be inside of a gym. Like I'd never be the outdoorsy type. It was either I was inside a gym playing netball and that was kind of my life when it comes to sports. But it wasn't until literally like 3 years ago, and it's crazy to even say, but 3 years ago when I discovered my love for running and outdoors, and in the last year and a half, the trails. There's just something about being in nature that I'm just like, whew, it's just a whole different level.
What is it for you about being in nature? Because, I totally agree, and so many people do. Sometimes it's hard to put into words, but what is it for you about being outside on the trails in the bush?
It's a sense of grounding. It's the calmness. It's the serenity. It's just a calmness in the body that it gives you. For me, it just helps me make sense of the world and makes me feel more connected to myself, but more connected to this earth as well. It's just the simplicity of it too.
Yeah. No, I mean I couldn't agree more. I think it's just the realest and rawest place. I don't think we're meant to sit in a concrete box and stare at screens all day. Being
No,
outside is the
we
way.
had this chat like a few weeks, well, when we caught up for our walk the other week, we had this chat and it was just like this concrete jungle and the devices, it's just like we're overstimulating ourselves 24/7. But when you're outside in nature, for me, it takes like 5-10 minutes to be able to ground into it. And then I'm just like, I can just breathe deeper.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. So you were more in the gym, I guess, growing up, bodybuilding, weightlifting, that was kind of your jam.
Yeah, yeah. So I've had a whole run with eating disorders, body dysmorphia, anorexia, but that all stems from the lack of insecurities in myself, that I just wanted my body. I just wanted to be able to sculpt my body, and the way that I felt that I needed to sculpt my body was in the gym. So I would spend 3 to 4 hours in the gym every day. I would
Wow.
wag school and go to the gym, and then I would also play netball to get like my team sports in as well. And again, it was just a concrete jungle. I was doing that just in a place just to completely sculpt my body. And it wasn't until, 3 years ago when I found running, I was just like, oh my God, there's just so much more to life. There's so much more to your body. There's so much more to your mental health and your physical health, that the gym now is just once or twice a week to maintain my overall physique and the endurance running that I do. But majority of my training now is outside because it gives me not only the physical, but it gives me the mental clarity that I need, a lot of people need in this world.
What started first? You said you had these sort of body image issues, anorexia. Were you in the gym first and then these things developed, or were you in the gym all the time because these things were sort of an issue for you at a younger age?
No, those things developed and it got really bad to the point that I went to the doctors and they said, well, if you don't change your ways and start eating more, then you could end up hospitalized or, worst case, pass away. So then I was like, all right, well, if I start eating more, well, I'm going to have to start exercising more. And then it started going into the gym and exercising, pumping
Wow.
the iron. So it was like the more that I ate, the more that I exercised. And it was just a really unhealthy balance. Yeah.
Do you think that's common in like the bodybuilding, weightlifting world? Because I remember when I was like 18, I got into the gym for the first time and like started seeing like abs pop out. Like I don't think I ever had any like issues to that level, but like I remember thinking like, geez, I just want to starve myself because like, damn, this is kind of sick. And obviously that's not a
Yeah.
healthy mindset to have. And I can totally see how you could spiral and get a bit out of control.
Yeah, and it's the addictive nature, right? So it's like if you're starting to see progress, well, you want to be able to speed up that progress. So it's like if you're starting to see the six abs pop out, well, you're like, well, what can I do to cut further so that six
Yeah.
abs becomes eight abs or becomes eight pack becomes a 12 pack? And what can I do that? So it's like, all right, let's just limit our food and increase activity because that's what's working. But the longevity of that, like that may work for like 2 or 3 days, but it's also combined with like a lack of knowledge of the longevity of what that is doing to your health over time. And it's been a massive learning curve for me in the past 6, 7 years that longevity is everything. So, how do we keep our body conditioned to go the extra distance and actually maintain a holistic but a lifestyle approach instead of wanting to be addicted to getting the six pack abs? Like, how do we maintain that over a long period of time? And sorry, but that's includes eating a lot more foods.
Yeah, I think longevity is that's a journey that we're all sort of heading towards. I feel like when we're younger, it's all we don't think so much about the future. And like in 10 years when I'm, say I'm 18, like in 10 years when I'm 28, how healthy am I going to be? Or, was this all sustainable? We don't think like that at all. And that's probably a journey I've been on as well. Whereas like, I used to think of hiking and especially like long distance hiking as a way like, oh, I'm going to lose a few kilograms out here because like I'm exercising so much and, I can limit how much I eat. That was probably a mindset I used to have. Whereas now
Mm.
I realize how powerful fuel is and how much you need it. And I just absolutely gorge myself because like my body just craves it and I'm going to give it what it wants. And I don't like lose much weight when I'm through hiking anymore because I'm absolutely just sending as much food down my gob as possible. And sounds like that's kind of the journey you've come to the point now where you're eating to fuel yourself properly, to actually fuel the things you're doing rather than just like giving yourself the bare minimum.
Yeah, and it's like it's exactly that eating yourself to fuel to be able to go further because it's like I love running, I love being outside, but if we don't fuel ourselves, we can only go a certain distance. It'll be like yourself coming to the end of the hike. Okay, I've lost 3 or 4 kilos. I'm feeling so fatigued and tired that you can't go on another day. And it's like change the mindset to be like our fuel is feeding our passions, our adventure, our outdoor exploring nature that we just love and we love that. So we want to go further and explore more hikes, keep feeding so we can go the distance. Just like putting fuel in your car. You can't drive a car with no fuel in it.
Yeah.
Can't drive your body with no fuel in it.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think a lot of young people specifically need to hear that. And so the message you're sharing on these epic missions is super powerful. I'm sure you've gotten a ton of feedback, in that arena.
It's been like a whole mindset shift in the sense of I'm not doing this to look a certain way. I'm doing this to for the longevity, but also to
Yeah,
have more fun in my life. Like, sorry, but not a lot of people love or would say running is fun. To me, it's so much fun. It's like an adventure that I go on every single day. And I look at that as in I'm living to my highest of values every day because I'm on an adventure and I'm not running to lose weight. I'm running because it's what makes me happy. So therefore I'm going to do it every single day. And
Yeah.
my relationships have grown over that as well. Instead of being like, I have to go for the 10K run or I have to go for the 10K hike. It's like, hey guys, come along with me. Let's go have an adventure outside. We'll go explore. And it's for me, it's been a way of bringing more connection into my life, not just with me, but with my partner, with my friendships, with expanding my communities too. So yeah.
Incredible. So when was the first run? Because you say you just started running 3 years ago. You're about to run 14,000 kilometers. That's like a fairly big jump in a very short period of time. I think typically people tend to build up to those kind of distances over a slightly longer period of time. What was the first run? What got you into it?
So one thing I've realized is one, I like to go big or go home. But
Yeah. Okay.
two is if you don't have a goal that makes you terrified and excited at the same time, the likelihood of you achieving that goal or keeping like or pushing forward every single day for that goal is very limited because the motivation is going to wear off. So I
Mm,
actually tried to set myself a goal to run a marathon. And I was like, yeah, I'll run a marathon. And I was like, yeah, marathon's in 3 months' time. So I'm going to train hard for that. And I just didn't have the motivation or the oomph or the excitement inside of me to train for it. So it just never happened. So then I was like, all right, well, in August 2022, I was going through the depths of my struggle and my mental challenges. And I, it was the week that I was contemplating taking my own life. Just so happened that that week I was driving along the highway going 100 clicks an hour and I got T-boned by a road train. And I
jeez.
woke up, I survived the crash, I regained consciousness in just 2 minutes, and I walked out alive with no injuries at all. And it wasn't until that moment I was lying on my hospital bed and I was like, what are you doing, babe? Like, there is so much more in this life to explore and for you to do. So go out and do it. And a few weeks passed and I was like, I love the outside. Like, why am I not outside anymore? So I just went for a 5K run. Just off the bat, I was like, I'm just going to go for a run. And I just felt so free in it and I just loved it. And then after that, I was laying awake in bed and it was like 2 o'clock in the morning. And just the idea come to me. It was don't train for a marathon, train to run 1,600 kilometers and raise awareness for mental health while you're at it. And that goal, setting that goal and saying it out loud terrified me. But it also excited me to see what was possible if I actually stuck to the plan. And I stuck to the plan and I achieved it. And we raised the 75,000. I ran 60 kilometers a day for 27 days. And I was like, well, what else is your body capable of? When I finished, when I finished, because I was fueling my body, it was like I wanted to go way further. And I was like, why am I stopping here? I feel the physical, mental, and spiritual and emotionally fittest I've ever felt. So why am I stopping here? Why am I stopping in Perth, Western Australia? And it was like at the finish line, I was like, I'm not done. I want to go around Australia. And I'm like, what's just one more state? Because the thought of running across Australia, yeah, that's big, that's huge. But again, it just didn't excite me. It didn't terrify me. It didn't make me want to jump out of my seat and be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to follow the plan. But running around Australia, it terrifies me. It excites me. And I'm like, let's do it.
There's definitely something to be said about choosing goals that scare you a little. I think you can get really comfortable in life if everything you do is easy and doesn't push you at all. And I mean, a lot of people talk about, pushing your limits and challenging yourselves in different ways, but setting this goal that like is kind of terrifying and like seems almost unattainable is a pretty epic way to like have the most, you know, insane amounts of motivation and drive, especially when, some people probably write you off. They're like, she's going to do what? Like that's not possible kind of thing. It's this interesting dichotomy of doing something so hard that's almost too hard that actually makes it possible to do it because it scares you and like gives you that drive, right? So that's crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you've been on this wild journey. You were contemplating ending your own life, and then you had this near death experience that obviously really galvanized you into yeah, just taking life by the balls and like thinking like, geez, I got to make the most of this. I haven't had a near death experience, but I can imagine getting T-boned by a truck at 100 clicks an hour.
And
It's
it's
pretty
one of those,
scary, and yeah, gives you some
it's one,
clarity.
it's one of those metaphors where it's like, don't get hit by a truck. And it's like, for me, I've been hit by a truck and I don't want anyone
Wow.
else to hit by a truck. It's like we say it as a joke, but that's what happened to
Yeah.
me. And it really just gave me the moment and the clarity that I needed to be like, what are you doing with your life? Because the way that I was living my life was not true to me and it wasn't true to who I wanted to be. It was
Yeah.
social expectations, pressures of others. I should be this. I got to earn this much money. I should show up like this. And in that moment, I was like, well, what for? I'm not happy. So at the end of the day, I believe if you're not happy, then what is the real goal in it all?
Yeah. And so you obviously like I'm sure your mental health struggles didn't magically disappear after that crash and after you decided to sort of set these big goals. But you decided like, I'm gonna do these things and try and like raise awareness because I've been through it, and I know other people are struggling. And you know, how did that go? You did this 1,600-kilometer run. You have a documentary that follows the journey, which is incredible, and I encourage everyone to watch. I'll link it in the description of the podcast. And you're raising money for a couple of charities, mental health charities, and just making an impact as you sort of ran down to Perth. What was that journey like, and reaching people and making that impact?
Yeah, so after the car crash happened, I was FIFO working at the time, so I was fly in, fly out. Sometimes I would work 3 weeks on, 1 week off, or even bigger, like 6 weeks on, 1 week off. And I returned to work and I was like, just have one conversation, just see where it goes. And it was a huge, courageous act of me to have that one conversation and for me to open up and share my experience with my own mental struggles in front of 45 males in a toolbox meeting that we had. But I
Yeah.
chose to do it. I lent into that discomfort and I did it. And it was from that conversation that I had that 8 males come up to me afterwards and they said, thank you for sharing. Thank you for having that conversation. And they opened up
Whoa.
their heart and we just started having a conversation about their own struggles or a friend that they've lost to suicide. Um, yeah. And it was by doing that and just having just one more conversation that I was starting to do that around site and hold a safe space for people, but I was also learning how to hold a safe space for me and shed my emotional baggage as well and heal my child traumas and my depression, my anxiety. I started seeking more therapy and speaking more. But when I was having the chats with the guys on site, it was like something flicked and it was like, this is one person. One person is amazing. However, how can I enhance it? How can I enhance this conversation so we have a national impact to ignite others to speak up about their mental health? And that's what we achieved on the 1,600-kilometer run because people, exactly what you said before, people see a female doing it and they're like, or even a male, then doing it and they're like, is this even possible? So then, one, that sparks a conversation about the run. And then when you attach the mental health and you attach my story, which a lot of people can see in the documentary, that's where it just opens up the conversations around mental health and for more people to check in with themselves, check in with their mates. And that's what it's all about to me. So it was like one conversation wasn't enough. I want to have a worldwide impact. And that's why I'm going around Australia now as well. So no one experiences the depths of the darkness alone. And to be able to instill hope to others, because there is hope out there. But my journey over the last 3 years to get to the stage where I am, it's been hard, it's been challenging. But the first thing that I know to be true is you just have to have courage to put your hand up a little bit further to seek the support and have just one more conversation.
I think that's the biggest thing, right? Is actually just talking about things. I know personally, when things get tough, the last thing you want to do is talk to someone about it and admit that you have this, what you may perceive as like a weakness, or it might be insecure about it. I mean, I've felt those feelings before. There are so many people and charities and organizations doing incredible work now to encourage conversation. Even here in Perth, there's all these like community groups that just encourage openness and just sharing the ups and the downs. And I think it's so powerful. It's so powerful. We have a mental health epidemic in Australia and possibly the Western world, and doing things like what you're doing is going a long way to sort of curb that. It's pretty scary, some of the stuff out there, the suicide numbers and the people suffering every day.
It's alarmingly scary for sure. And it's understanding that it's not weak to speak, it's actually strength and vulnerability tied together and the
Yeah.
courage to speak. And it's like, if is this a weakness? No, this is you being vulnerable. This is you being strong. This is you sharing what's on your heart. And I guarantee if you were to walk down the street and you had a massive cut on your leg, you will have people come up to you and asking you, are you okay? I can help with this. But because this is something that we physically can't see, we store it inside our own heads. It's like some of us feel that we just have to be strong all the time and do it ourselves and combat it. And yeah, and it's like, no, actually, let's just be courageous and vulnerable and have the strength within us to first speak what's inside our minds, because no one knows what's happening inside our minds because you can't see it. And then it just goes from there. So I truly believe that there's nothing sexier than vulnerability.
I love that. I love that so much. So this 1600-kilometer run, obviously raising awareness and money for these charities, but also you're running 60 kilometers a day. That's a long way. That's a very, very long way. And you're quite new to running at this point. Do you think that the basis of strength that you had from being in the gym all those years helped with the running? And were you pretty confident at the start of that run, that first big mission, that you would be able to do it? Did you have this like relentless, crazy optimism that you were like, yeah, I'll get it done, or were you a little bit nervous?
Yeah. So strength 110% has played a huge part in this. And I truly believe that my strength training background is what also saved my life in that car accident, because my back
Mm.
is so strong from doing squats and deadlifts and all of the smaller movements as well. But it's so strong that my bone structure can carry me that distance. I trained for 9 months to run 1600 kilometers. When I went to my coach and asked her if she could coach me, she had no belief in me. Throughout the whole time, she had no belief in me at all. And I actually had to have a conversation and be like, this is what we're doing. This is what I'm doing. Like, you're either in or you're out. And if you're out, completely fine. Just let me know. But I don't need that negative energy or negative belief inside.
Yeah.
So that was a very hard and uncomfortable conversation to have, but I had to have it. And then when I got to the
Did she
start
stick
line,
around?
she did stick around, yeah.
Okay,
But
cool.
unfortunately, throughout the run and even post run, it just dropped off and I just didn't hear from her at all. So I was like, okay, that's fine. But we got there and we got to the start line. But none of my family ever believed that I was going to do it. And it wasn't until I hit maybe about 1,200 kilometers down, that I was just in Geraldton, which is like 4 hours north of Perth, did I get a message from my dad, and he's like, baby girl, you got this, just keep running. And I was like,
Wow.
whoa. But it also made me realize that they had every right not to believe in me, because everything up until that moment in time that I said I was going to do in my life, I never did. And I realized I never followed through with the plan, and I never followed through with it because it wasn't my dream to chase. But this dream to run 1600 kilometers and now to run around Australia is my dream to chase. And therefore, I'm going to do whatever it takes. And throughout that, it was like I got to the start line and I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to give it a crack. We're just going to go one more. We're going to have fun. I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't even know what it's going to look like, but I'm just going to give it a crack every single day. Just going to show up, show up, show up. And that's all I did. And I did it. And I just loved it.
Insane. I love the just one more mantra, just one more step, just one more kilometer, just one more day. If you break it down into tiny little portions like that, you can go a really long way. And I tell people that all the time with these long through hikes that I do. If you think about like the end, which is potentially months and thousands of kilometers away, it's very easy to psych yourself out and get overwhelmed with what's this gigantic sort of thing that's ahead of you. But I just tell people, like, just think about the next day, think about the next campsite, the next town, the next resupply, and never think any further than that. And once you get to that next milestone, then you can start thinking about the next little section. And it's funny how quickly you end up making it halfway and then three-quarters of the way, and then you just find yourself at the end because you just took it one day at a time and you just took that one more step each time. And I think it's a really powerful mindset. Did you have you would have had some tough moments on that run, I'm sure. 60K a day from day one. Were there days you felt like quitting? Did you have some injuries pop up? Like that would have been rough. Running on the road all day, every day as well.
Yeah. So I had so many demons to process out there. On day one, I was hit with 46-degree heat because I started
What?
in Pilbara.
Oh,
Yeah. And that
where was
day
the
just
start
rocked
point
me.
exactly?
Dampier in Karratha. So just
Dampier.
outside of
Okay.
Karratha. Yeah.
Yeah, it's hot up there.
Yeah. So the first 2 weeks was roughly anywhere from 47 to like 36 degrees. It was hot. With when you're running on the road, it's like all the black, and when there's nothing else around, it's just all black. So my feet were
So
getting burnt from
exposed.
underneath. Yeah.
Oh, whoa.
And at that point in time, I had no idea what I was in for. So I just rock up in my shorts and a crop top and I'm like, let's go. Not even thinking about being sun smart or like sunscreen or like fishing shirts or broad brim hats. So then I had the community of Karratha bringing those stuffs out to me, like bringing the supplies out to me because they're seeing me
Right.
out here running in 44-degree heat and they're like, we got to help her. But they seen the resilience and the determination in me that I was just going to go. I didn't care about the heat. And I had like ice packs, shoving them down my pants, putting them in my bras just to keep me cool. And we were swapping that out every like
Wow.
20 minutes. It was. I had truckies bringing me ice. I had truckies bringing me care packages. And you're running out there, the trucks are going 110 clicks an hour. And I'm running beside that. So to be hit by one the year before and now having one coming straight on at you while you're on foot, that was a lot for me to process. But by day 4, I'd made friends with all the truckies and I was like, you know what? They can't hurt me. Nothing can hurt me until I say it can hurt me.
There's a
So
great story in the documentary of one of the truckies jumping on the two-way and like saying something like, "What the hell is this chick doing running out here in the middle of nowhere?" And then like you had a two-way radio and you like jumped on and said, "Hey, it's me. I'm out here, raising money and running to Perth." And like that guy ended up becoming like one of your big supporters because he's obviously driving up and down that highway all the time. It's super cool.
100%. It's one thing that I'm really looking forward to the Australia run. Like all the Western Australia truckies, they all got behind me and they would pass it down the chain and pass it on to their mates and be like, run her up ahead, or I've just seen her in crossing Geraldton, just drive slow here, or drop her off some water. And they were passing it up the chain. So they become like my number one supporters. And then to see a few of them at the finish line in their trucks, I just get emotional about it now because it was just so cool. And now to experience that tenfold, it's just going to be a
Yeah.
leap.
Super special. We had some like on the Pacific Crest Trail particularly, we had some like heat waves that we walked through. And our main strategy when it was like close to 40 degrees was like just we call it a siesta during the day and then just walk through the night or walk like really early or really late. Did you do much of that or were you just like screw this, I'm running while it's light even if it's 47 bloody degrees out and fully exposed, you just sent it?
Well, I tried to do that. So the first week, I tried to wake up earlier at like 3:30, 4 a.m. and beat the heat. But when you're running like that and you're by yourself and you're in solitude, you get to know and understand your body a lot. And I quickly realized that I need minimum 8 hours of sleep every single night for me to be able to keep carrying on. So we did that for a week and then it just become too exhausting, too tiring. So one day I just said to Rowan, my support crew, I was like, look, I'm waking up at 8:30. Don't try to wake me up any earlier. I need a solid 12 hours sleep. And then the next day I got out and I just hit a PB straight away. And we just used that
Mm,
strategy. And I was like, I need to sleep through the night. I need to break this again, the 60 kilometers, down into two chunks, so morning and nighttime. And then in the middle of the day, I would stop and I would have a rest for about 30 to 45 minutes and have a quick power nap. And that just seen me through, even in the 48-degree days.
I guess you've just got to find a strategy that works for you, right? When you're covering that kind of distance every day, you need to figure out how am I going to be ready to go again tomorrow morning, and whether that's sleeping all night because that's what you're most comfortable doing, or like, yeah, splitting it up into multiple parts throughout the day. Because it's a mental game just as much as a physical run, right? You're like, you can easily psych yourself out. I remember when we caught up a couple of weeks ago, you were saying how you'd always try and do in the morning section like more than half of the distance, so that when you
Yeah.
started your sort of afternoon or nighttime run, it's like, okay, we're on the home stretch here officially. There's less than half of the distance to do today, and so that kind of stuff is just what gets you to the end.
Yeah, 100%. It's just such a mental game. But with injuries, the only injury, no, I had two injuries, sorry. The only two injuries I had was they were both self-inflicted. I had a really sore quad one day and I wasn't sure how to tape my quad. So I just taped it how I wanted to tape it. And I accidentally taped it way too tight and I kept running on it and I kept running on it for about 3 days. And I was like, it's just getting worse. It's just getting worse. And I finally took the tape off and I actually had a massive laceration and cut through the back of my leg
Whoa, yeah.
because I
Way
did
too
it too
tight.
tight.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, Brooke, what have you done? And the second time was because when you're out there, you're just so hungry. And I know that you've just got to eat and eat and eat. And sometimes you get a little bit delirious and your mind can't make up like either proper sentences or proper decisions. So I had a friend's uncle meet me out there and he dropped me off a bulk load of Thai food. And I was just
Okay.
so hungry. So that night I just smashed down like 3 plates of Thai food. And then the next morning, oh man, I have never been more sick in my whole entire life. I was
Yeah.
vomiting and on the toilet on the side of the road for the whole day for a good 14 hours. It was so bad.
You still probably got your 60K in though.
I got 40 Ks that day.
Yeah. Damn. I think a lot of people who haven't done long distance hiking, ultra running, won't realize how big of an issue food can be on these kinds of things. Like, for one, it might be hard to believe, but it's very hard to just eat enough food. A lot of people are like, I could eat as much food as I want. Like, I wish I could eat more food, but you just can't eat enough food to actually replace what you're burning. And then two, your stomach is very sensitive, your gut's super sensitive. Like, every piece of energy in your body is going towards like just taking one more step, and sometimes that means your gut's a little more vulnerable. And so, like, having a bunch of Thai food when you maybe weren't used to that, or really intense flavors or different things, can just really screw you over. And it's a whirlwind of different challenges on this kind of event, with the logistics and the food and managing fatigue and injuries and all that kind of stuff. But you made it to
Yeah.
Perth. You made it to Perth, right? 27 days would have been a pretty epic feeling running in.
Yeah, it was very surreal running in. It was like the second last day it had all hit me and I had the biggest emotional release that I feel I've ever had in my life. And that was just a messy day. And that day though, I had to run an extra 4 kilometers and I was not happy. The final day, I was actually so on fire and I was so ahead of time that I stopped off at two McDonald's to have a feed, but I sat in there, had a coffee for half an hour because Rowan, my
Nice.
support crew, he's like, you're moving too fast, just chill out. So I was like, all right, go to Macca's, get some feed, get a bacon and egg and a coffee, sit down, chill out. That's what I did. And then I was running past Trig Cafe and I seen there was an art expedition on and I was like, oh, let's just go through the art show. Killed another 45 minutes and Rowan's like, all right, you can come here now. Your family's here, like at the finish line. So that's when I just gunned it straight for the finish line. So it was a nice day.
That's awesome. It's so funny because like everyone in that art exhibition and in the McDonald's and stuff, like, they would have had no idea that you had just run 1,600 kilometers. They're just like, oh, it's just another person drinking a latte or whatever. Crazy. But that's how you want to finish, right? You don't want to hobble in if you can help it. You finish strong, fast, and obviously made a huge impact, raised like over $75,000. I remember seeing in the doco, people sending you messages of support and leaving you bits and bobs on the road, and that would have been super fulfilling, I'm sure.
Yeah, the care packages. Like I just remember I was coming out of Geraldton and some lady, Kate, her name was, she's an ambulance officer, does all support up that way. But she made a beautiful sign for me and she just attached it to a signpost on the side of the road. And it was just one more. And then on the back, it was like impact to ignite, Brooke McIntosh, how she's doing it with resilience, discipline, courage, determination. It was just this amazing, beautiful spill. And I just lost it. I was like, this is just so thoughtful for someone to come out, to someone to make this, but then to come out and try to find me, wasn't able to find me. So she left it on a signpost on the side of the road for me to find. It was just so beautiful. Yeah, just things like that just kept me going and kept the spirit alive too.
Yeah. Yeah, amazing. I mean, that's a big part of through hiking as well, is like the kindness of just like these complete strangers. And it's part of the reason I love posting these adventures online, because you can connect with people in a way that you just never could otherwise. And you've experienced that too. People see what you're doing and they're like, okay, we just want to be a part of it. We want to help in any way we can. And you just see the kindness of the human spirit. People are just so nice. People are so nice.
And kindness is free, like free, right? So it's like just be kind, send that message, have a conversation. Like you never
Yeah.
know in the depths of it who needs to read it just in that moment in time. But yeah, kindness, 100%.
So you're 10 days out from the next big mish. How long since you did that 1600-kilometer run? How long has it been?
I finished September 23, so about maybe 16 months, maybe 18 months. I'm not sure.
Okay. So you've
Yeah.
had a bit of time to sort of build up, train, and plan for this crazy thing you're about to do. I mean, 1600 kilometers is a long way to run. You're running now 14,000 or more. Are you nervous? Are you a little bit nervous? You're coming very close to the start.
Am I nervous? Nah. I don't think, no, I don't, I'm not nervous. I'm excited. Yeah. I had a nightmare last night actually. My sleep's starting to be like
Not
getting
nervous, you're
impacted by
just scared.
it. But I had a nightmare last night that it took me 5 hours to run 10 kilometers. And I'm like, what? But I'm honestly just excited for it because it's just an adventure. And I'm just excited for the next adventure to start unfolding. Like the whole last 16 months training for it has just been a complete adventure. And now I'm just itching to get out there and do it. I'm excited to just run and do nothing else. I'm over the organization and the logistics of it. So two things, running and speaking. That's all I'm going to be doing for the next 6 months. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, the anticipation is just building, right? Like you're planning this thing for so long, you're working towards it. When it starts getting this close, you're just like, I want to start. Just get me to the start line. And you've been doing
Yeah,
some huge training runs, sort of emulating the kind of distances you'll be running each day. And I remember you saying like you just wish that those kilometers that you're doing in training could just add on to the 14,000 that you're about to do. But you'll be
100%.
You'll be starting very soon. Yeah, the logistics for something like this, I can't even imagine. What's that been like trying to organize everything? Because I think you're doing most of it yourself, right? You've been posting content, you've been doing all these shows and podcasts to sort of promote the mission. You've been having to sort out
Hmm.
vans and food and support crew and then train as well. Like it seems like a lot.
Yeah, so like the logistical and the organization has just been immense. It has like this has just become my full-time job. But I'm so grateful now that one of my good friends, Susie, she's joined me and she's now with me pretty much full time and she's taken the reins of all of that so it keeps ticking behind the scenes and that's this week and next week has just been able to give me some more breathing space, but it's just been a lot, like organizing sponsors, interviews, podcasts, content creation, filming, editing, putting all that stuff out there because at the end of the day if people don't know about it, like it's not living its up to its mission as well. Like I want to be able to have another, just one more conversation through this. So I need to do the content. I need to do the editing, the videoing, and I'm just a one woman band right now. So it's nice to now have more support behind me, so they can take the reins and start doing more of that. But it's been a lot. It's just a full time business. Another one.
Yeah, yeah, crazy. I mean, yeah, I know a bit about the logistical side of planning big trips and big expeditions, and yeah, it can be a headache, especially when all you want to do is like you just want to do the thing. You don't want to like do all this other stuff. You just want to like run or walk or hike or whatever it is. It can be it can be quite intense. What's your route? What's your direction? Yeah, what does it look like?
So I'm going south first. So I start at City Beach in Perth and then I go south. So yeah, I head down like Mandurah, Albany way, across the Nullarbor, then Adelaide, Melbourne, Sydney, up through Queensland and finish off like Northern Territory side. Oh, sorry, no, I finished off on my home stretch, which is Western Australia, but I'm going south and then back up. It's gonna look like 80 kilometers a day for 6 months. And I'm just like, it's just one more. So I don't even look at it as the 80. I don't even look at it as 6 months. I don't even look at it as 80 kilometers. I look at it as 1 kilometer, 80 times a day for 6 months. That sits
Yeah,
nicely with me. And I'm like, that's
yeah,
doable. That's small enough to
yeah.
not send me in overdrive.
I feel like that's just an absolute necessity to think about it like that. Like anyone's going to be overwhelmed at the grandiose of the entire journey, right? That's pretty wild. So you're doing a big send off in Perth?
Yeah, we're doing a big send off in Perth and we're just organizing like a few more people to come along there, run clubs to join us and join out. Like I'm running 80 kilometers a day. Look, I don't expect people to run 80 kilometers for that day, but if you want a day where you push yourself to your limits, make it that day.
Yeah,
um, we're
100%.
encouraging a lot of people to come run. If it's 5Ks, at 10Ks, 20Ks, or jump on your bike and see me off at City Beach. It's going to be epic. But not only that, like throughout the route as well. Like if you see me running through your town, hit us up.
Give us the details of the send off because we'll put this podcast out before you start, and if anyone's in Perth, get down and support.
Yeah, come run. It's going to start at 7 a.m. So I'm like, not too early. My normal run
What's the
days will
date?
probably start at about 2nd of March. So next
7
Sunday, or
a.m.
actually, it'll be the Sunday when you put this out.
Yeah, the coming Sunday. So literally in a few days from when you guys are listening to this, head down to City Beach, 7 a.m., 2nd of March. That'd be sick. What are you
And it's a
looking forward
public
to?
holiday the next day.
Ah, perfect. So
So
even
there you
if
go.
you're completely broken from running 80K with Brooke, you're all good.
You've got a day to recover.
What are you looking forward to most on the run? What's something that like really excites you? Is it just the running itself? Is it the people you're going to meet, the impact you're going to make?
It's the landscapes. Yeah. It's
Hmm.
the landscapes around Australia. Like, I'm Australian. I have not done much of Australia travel. I've traveled to the major cities, etc., but I haven't done anything outside of that. So I'm honestly so excited to see, to feel, and to experience how the landscape shifts as I make my way around the country. Because that's one thing from the WA run, or the 1600-kilometer run, the landscape, how it shifted from Pilbara to Perth and all the way in between was just something else. It was just so beautiful that I'm like, all right, what else has Australia got to offer, and what's it going to be like? That's what I'm most excited for.
You're going to see so much cool stuff. I always say the best way to see a country is to do it on foot. I've walked across two countries up until this point, and you just you see so much more than you could otherwise. You know, you see the little alleyways and towns. You meet people that you normally just drive past, and like you said, you're going to see all the landscapes, and it's going to change radically. Like you're going to have the flat Nullarbor plains to start with, and then eventually you're going to get to some like incredible coastline up into the tropical sort of areas of northern Queensland and Northern Territory, back into the red dirt Pilbara. It's going to be some radically shifting environments, and that's going to be super cool.
I think what, like, with the environment shifting and the landscapes, what I'm most nervous for, like, if there was one thing I'm most nervous for, it would be entering the cities again when I'm out there, because
Yeah,
it's like I'm going from a complete solitude to now re-entering the hustle bustle city life and overstimulation of it all, and then going back out. Like, yeah, the cities is what's terrifying me right now.
the cities will be such a small portion of it, so you're going to be so used to having not much going on, not many people, to all of a sudden a lot.
Yeah.
That's the same with the end of every through hike. Specifically, the PCT last year, we had 140 days of mostly just complete solitude in the wilderness. Obviously, we like went into some towns and stuff, but then at the end of the trek, like we hitchhiked to Seattle, which is just this huge city, biggest city in Washington State, and the people that I hiked with, that I was in the city with, we were just like it was like a sensory overload. It was kind of
Mhm.
It's hard to explain, but I just felt so overwhelmed, and I don't usually feel that overwhelmed with that amount of people in regular life, but after spending so much time without that stimulation, it's mind blowing, and that kind of just like reinforces the point that I always make, which is like we're meant to be in nature. We're not meant to be in these cities. And when you do spend an extended period of time in nature, in like the raw and the real form that we're sort of meant to be, it does feel uncomfortable when you come back to this place where there's not even anything green and there's just human beings everywhere and stress everywhere and just craziness. It's yeah, you need a healthy balance of time outside, and you're gonna get plenty of that on this run, which is exciting.
I'm, I'm going to get all the time outside. Is it a healthy balance? Well, yeah, it is. I'm going to claim it.
It's healthy being outside. Is it healthy running 80K every day?
No,
Debatable.
I wouldn't recommend it. Please do not take advice from me on running this distance.
Do what Brooke says, not what she does.
Yeah.
What is
Yeah.
you're obviously raising money for charity again this run. What's the charity and what does it mean to you?
The charity is Blue Tree Project. I raised funds last time for the Blue Tree Project, and for me, it is just it's a charity super close to my heart. Like Kendall, how she started the charity, from turning a tragic into now her purpose and what she does, and instills hope in millions across Australia is just I just love that. And when I was working on sites, when I was going through the depths of my suicidal ideation, it just so happened like if I was on a drive and I'd look up and I was thinking some negative thoughts, a blue tree would pop up and it would just help instill a little bit of hope into me. So yeah, when I seen all them blue trees popping up, I just dug a little bit deeper into this charity that was starting in Western Australia, and me and Kendall become friends. And I did the 1,600-kilometer run, and now for this one, I'm like, I want to help Kendall be able to build her charity up and up and up and keep having the impact that she's having. So that's why I chose the Blue Tree Project again, because it's just something so simple, painting a tree blue, that just sparks a conversation and helps instill more hope. And along with all of the mental health first aids and the training that she does provide, is just incredible. So I'm like, what can I do? Let's run around Australia and raise $1.4 million for the Blue Tree Project. And why that? Like, why is my mind set on 1.4? It's a huge number, but I'm also like, you know what? If I'm running 14,000 kilometers, we can, as a community, as Australia, as worldwide, raise 1.4.
I
It's just
love it.
two extra
I mean,
zeros.
well, you're dreaming big in kilometers and dollars raised, and like you said, if you don't dream big and shoot for something that's a little bit scary and hard to obtain, then what are you even doing? But that's super exciting. Have you gained like drawn some inspiration from some of the other crazy individuals who have done similar things before you, like Sean Bell run around Australia a similar route to you last year. Ned Brockman ran across Australia. There's been a bunch of people who have done those kind of big missions in other countries as well, like the US, Africa, and that kind of stuff. Do you look at these other guys and gals and say like, that's insane. These guys can do it. I can do it, and maybe like learn some stuff from their missions.
I've definitely looked at so many people for the lessons and the learnings. Like I look at Ned Brockman and I'm like, how he did that, how he PR'd, how he content created, how he marketed himself was absolutely phenomenal. Like he just blew it out of the park and he showed the running community what is possible. Sean Bell showed me that it is possible to run around Australia with the grit, the determination, and the right mindset to keep going every single day. So I followed him closely for sure. And now, combined of the two, I've just combined it and created my own way of it. Yeah, I definitely look to people for the lessons and the learnings and the inspirations. Inspirations, yeah, but I never really looked at anyone as in like I want to be like them. I'm like I just want to be Brooke McIntosh, who just does cool shit, does hard shit.
I love that. I think a lot of people see that in you. I definitely do, and man, I'm excited to follow the journey around Australia. You're going, yeah, in 10 days as we speak, but for the listeners, Brooke is off very soon. So please go support, go follow along. Where can people follow you, Brooke, before we go to follow the journey? Where can people donate to the charity? I'm going to leave all the links in the description below, but let us know.
Yeah, so Instagram and hashtag TikTok is like the best place. I post on there every single day. It's Brooke McIntosh __. And also check out my website because the Australia Run page is just elite. I'm obsessed with it and it has so much more about my story on it. It has the documentary on it. It has about the Blue Tree and you can donate to the cause on there and also view my exact run map where I'm going to be running. So yeah, we're calling on a lot of people to come out and actually run with me. That's the biggest change this time around is like I want Australia to run with me when I'm going through the towns. And the website is just brookemcintosh.com.au /Australia Run.
Epic. Yeah, I'll drop all those links below. Make sure to go check it all out. Support the mission. If you have a run club somewhere around Australia, if you're a runner on the route, make sure to jump on board, run some miles with Brooke. I'm going to try and make that happen at some point. I'd love to, yeah, I'll run with you in WA somewhere, but I'd love to get over like east or somewhere else as well, a little more exotic, and join you for a bit as well. But super excited to follow the journey, Brooke, and thanks so much for making the time to join us on the Laugh Outside podcast this morning.
Thanks for having us on. Yeah, let's just go into it and chat when I'm out there. It'll be epic to do a
Hell
podcast
yeah.
when I'm out there in the middle of nowhere, life outside.
Let's do that. Let's organize a catch up pod somewhere around Australia during the run, and definitely organize one after you're finished as well, because the people are invested now. But make sure to go follow along, and if you guys enjoyed this episode, make sure to leave a 5-star rating, follow wherever you're listening to the podcast, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers. Thanks, Brooke.
Cheers.